Shalom and welcome to another episode of Elders of GMS, giving all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Today's topic is entitled Columbus and Other Tyrants. Basically, since Columbus Day is coming up in a couple of days from now, by the way, today is October the 6th, 2012. On October the 8th, which is this Monday, coming up today is Saturday, obviously, is a so-called Christopher Columbus Day. And basically we want to dedicate this show to that devil and other tyrants as well. I got some video clips I want to show. But before I go into that, I want to deal with some history on, we got to go into the Apocrypha on Antiochus Epiphanes. And I want to go to the first book I want to go to is Proverbs 29 and 16, and then go from there to First Maccabees, the first chapter and the 7th verse, and we're going to read the whole all the way down.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 16. It says, "When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall." So basically what this is telling you is that when the wicked rule, right, or when they're multiplied, it says transgression increaseth. So now when did that happen? That happened during the time when the Greeks first came into power. That's the time when the wicked started increasing. Why? Because that's when they got a stronghold and conquered the so-called known world at the time, you know, through a Greek, Edomite, who called himself a Greek or Macedonian by the name of Alexander the Creep, you know, or Alexander the Greek. And what happened was when he, in about a 12 years span, conquered the world, that's when the Edomites basically took over the world, you know, over the known world. And then after them, you know, you had the Romans, you know, that the Greek Empire was absorbed into the Roman Empire. And then during the time of the Roman Empire in the AD era, that's when Rome fell. And for a period of 1,000 years, they were pretty much contained, you know, as is prophesied in the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. Then after that, around, you know, the about the early to mid 1300s, in that time frame, they started slowly but surely getting certain strongholds, you know, in Europe, you know, and by 1453 they were fully established, you know, as that power. And you notice that from that point on, that's when evil is even multiplied even more.
Yeah, that's Revelation, the 20th chapter, where the dragon was loose for a little season. That's what that's talking about. Now you can go right to Maccabees.
All right, this is the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees chapter 1 and 1. "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive." And that was dealing with his 4 generals that he parted his kingdom amongst. So it says, "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. And that was the beginning of Israel, them particular Israelites in that region, becoming uncircumcised or becoming heathens or Gentiles.
Yeah, giving up their who they are as a people, Israelites, because it was commanded that they wasn't supposed to keep the Sabbath, wasn't supposed to circumcise their children, supposed to eat pork, supposed to, and one of the gods that they had to worship was Bacchus. Okay, and if we get a chance, we'll go into that too. They had to go to the feast of Bacchus and so forth, bringing ivory with them, okay, to commemorate Bacchus.
It says, So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a...
Yeah, so they went into the philosophy of living like the old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. The Romans eat pork, you eat pork. The Romans engage in all kind of madness. You engage in that same homosexuality. You engage in the same thing. That's what that saying means. So that went back to the Greeks, by the order of Antiochus Epiphanes, who not only said you couldn't keep your laws, but you had to follow the Greeks' way of life. So they taught their children the Greek way of life. So, of course, the Israelites, after so many generations, they completely forgot that they were Israelites. That's why you have an example of Cornelius. Cornelius was an Israelite whose parents before him, probably going back to Greece, all right? They stopped keeping the laws, stopped circumcising their children, and they taught their children what they learned, the philosophy that they learned among the Greeks and whatever other country that they went to. They totally forgot their religion. That's why we, as a people in this society, we are the lost children of Israel. How do we get this knowledge back? Our fathers and our mothers didn't teach us this. We had to get this thing back through the Spirit. Okay?
This is 2 Maccabees 6:6. Neither was it... Okay. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
He couldn't proclaim, he couldn't come out and say or admit, or let the world know that he's a Jew. He couldn't even do it in secret, because if somebody told on him, that was death. So that's why they taught their children that. And this devil made sure they taught their children that. And that's why this devil, when we were brought over here to serve slavery in this country, they split up families. Why? Because if your father knew some knowledge that he was an Israelite, he could secretly pass it to his sons or his daughters. So you totally split them up, man. Well, they didn't know any goddamn thing.
Right. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at back in 1 Maccabees 1:14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the custom of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he took to reign over Egypt. He thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of two realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, and with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessel also Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. And the Romans did the same thing.
Titus. Yep, do Titus. Yep.
It says, therefore there was great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned the virgins, and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every